Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. Hope you all are doing well. Welcome back to another live stream. It is Monday evening. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. An Everton free weekend, or at least we hoped it would be an Everton free weekend last Saturday evening, when Everton picked up a really, really important and impressive point at Stamford Bridge. We all thought, thank God for that. 13 days, 12 days, whatever it is, without Everton, a full weekend of no stress. You know, we were all able to go and have a little pint or have a nice little bit of food with our family and sit down and chill and not worry about Everton for at least a couple of days over the weekend whilst we enjoy ourselves. Or at least we thought that was what it was going to be. Anyway, to be honest, for me personally, that's what I did. Even though this news that we're about to speak about come out on Friday evening, I was absolutely determined for this to not ruin my weekend, for this to not have absolutely any effect on what I had planned or what I had wanted to do to enjoy myself this weekend, because I refuse to allow Everton to ruin my weekends when they're not even playing, because they often ruin my weekends when they are playing. Of course, I am talking about the news that the Premier League have referred Everton to an independent party over an alleged breach of the financial fair play or profit and sustainability rules, if you like. This information come out at about 4:45 on Friday evening, so exactly when we wanted it to come out, didn't we? We were all settling down, finished work, looking forward to a nice Everton-free weekend, a weekend with no stress or anxiety or worry, and at 4:45 on Friday evening, this bit of information hits the media. It was first reported by Sean Ingle, who is a reporter for The Guardian, and he said Everton have been charged with an alleged breach of the Premier League's FFP rules in relation to their spending last season. We then got a full Premier League statement, which reads, in accordance with Premier League Rule W.A2.1, the Premier League confirms that it has today referred an alleged breach of the league's profitability and sustainability rules by Everton to a commission under Premier League Rule W.3.4. The assessment period for which it is alleged that the club is in breach is the period ending season 2021-2022, so last season. Commissions are independent of the Premier League and member clubs. The members of the commission will be appointed by the independent chair of the Premier League Judicial Panel in accordance with the Premier League Rules W.19, W.20 and W.26. The proceedings before the Commission will, in accordance with Premier League Rule W.82, be confidential and heard in private under Premier League Rule W.82.2. The Commission's final award will be published on the Premier League's website. The league will be making no further comments until that time. So, again, this was all broken at 5 o'clock on Friday evening, literally completely out of the blue. Everton responded not so long after, at around about 5:20, by saying Everton Football Club is disappointed to hear of the Premier League's decision to refer an allegation of a breach of profit and sustainability regulations to an independent commission for review. The club strongly contests the allegation of non-compliance and, together with its independent team of experts, is entirely confident that it remains compliant with all financial rules and regulations. Everton is prepared to robustly defend its position to the Commission. The club has, over several years, provided information to the Premier League in an open and transparent manner and has consciously chosen to act with the utmost good faith at all times. The club will not be making any further comment at this time. So that's pretty much all that we heard on Friday evening. Over the weekend, we had a little bit more information regarding this. The Daily Mail reported yesterday that the Premier League are having questions from clubs over their decision to charge Everton with breaching spending rules 9 months after insisting they had no case to answer. Several clubs are unhappy at the timing, which could impact the relegation battle. There is a feeling from clubs that the Premier League's charge of Everton is said to be politically motivated and influenced by a desire to show government that they are capable of enforcing their financial rules. And then Kieran Maguire, earlier this morning, Kieran Maguire is a football financial sort of I don't want to say expert because I don't know him that well enough to give him that title, but he works in the finances of football, and he was on Sky Sports this morning, and he said, I have heard from sources on Merseyside, but not from the club, that this is in relation to a transfer which potentially took Everton over the financial fair play limit. So what we know so far, we know that this is an alleged allegation that has taken place during last season, so the 2021-2022 season. So in either of those transfer windows, either the one in the summer, in which Everton only spent £1.5 million, of course, on Demarai Gray, and of course brought in a couple of other players on free transfers, or in the January, when we brought in the likes of Vitaly Mykolenko, Nathan Patterson, Dele coming, obviously Donny van der Beek coming on loan as well. We know that it is it's something that has gone on with one of those transfers, or accumulation of those transfers together. We don't really know the absolute specifics of it. As I said, the financial guy on Sky Sports this morning, Kieran Maguire, seemingly suggesting that it is over a single transfer that took Everton over the FFP line. However, that of course is purely just speculation at the moment, and I think the reality of this situation at the current minute is that nobody really knows what's gone on. I think it's important to stress that Everton haven't been charged yet, although the original tweet that we read out, which of course was the tweet that sort of broke the news from Sean Ingle, had been worded to say Everton have been charged with an alleged breach of the Premier League's FFP rules, but that's actually incorrect. Everton haven't been charged. The Premier League have referred Everton to an independent commission to undergo an investigation because they believe Everton may have breached one or multiple financial fair play rules. So Everton haven't been charged yet, which is important. And another thing to note as well is a lot of these statements are very broad, and a lot of these statements are very basic, and a lot of these statements aren't very informational. I don't even know if that's a word. Informative is the word, sorry. Informative as to the situation in itself. We don't really know what's going on, and nobody really knows what's going on. So when you're seeing various different reports and various different articles and various different journalists on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, the majority of them will just be trying to fill a space in order to get clicks, or in order to, draw Evertonians in to try and read their articles or read their newspapers to see if we can find any reason as to why this may be going on. The reality is, all as we know and all as anybody knows up to now, is the Premier League believe that there could have been a financial breach by Everton during last season, be it in the summer transfer window, which again I highly doubt, because we only spent £1.5 million, and it is of course, in the last sort of 12 months we've sold Anthony Gordon for £40 odd million, we've sold Richarlison for £50 odd million, £60 odd million, and we've sold a number of other players as well that will have added up to accumulate much more than £1.5 million, put it that way. Or, that January transfer window, when we did spend a little bit more money, we brought in Vitaly Mykolenko, we spent a little bit more on Nathan Patterson, and the big question mark for me, and I'm not saying that this is the deal that is in question, and I'm not saying that this is the deal that, is what has taken Everton over, or allegedly taken Everton over the financial fair play board there, but the Dele Alli deal, which again, as I said, I'm not suggesting is the problem, and I'm not suggesting that's the deal that is in question here. However, I think it's fair to say that's the deal that confused the majority of us in January, because you had some journalists and some people close to Tottenham coming out and saying it was a deal worth £40 million. You had people close to Everton saying it's actually a free transfer, and it only becomes a payable transfer once Dele's played a certain amount of games for the club. And I've never really seen a deal like that where a player can, he can either join a football club for free, or he can join a football club for a fee as high as £40 million, depending on how many games of football he plays. And it did seem a little bit strange, that deal, because Daniel Levy isn't usually the type of businessman to make a deal like that. But again, I'm not saying that is the deal in question. I'm just saying that falls under that bracket of time period that they are suggesting is the is where the problem is. Or it could even be historic to that, and it could be all of the money that we wasted last summer, i.e. the £600 million that we wasted in Farhad Moshiri's first 6 years at the football club, or 5 years at the football club, and then we've signed, I don't know, a player last season that's tipped it over the edge. Basically, the model of the story is nobody really knows what's going on here. No journalist, no newspaper, no Sky Sports pundit, no financial football expert, no Evertonian. Nobody really knows what Everton are being accused of here. And we won't know until that investigation by that committee, or whoever it is, commission, or whoever it may be, is completed. Now, what would it mean if that investigation is completed and Everton are found guilty? That is a question that, again, we don't know the answer to. We can sit here all we like and speculate. Oh, it would mean a points deduction. Oh, it would mean instant relegation. Oh, it would mean that they would burn the club to the ground and we'd never be able to go and watch Everton again. We can sit here all we like and say that, and try and guess as to what the potential punishment would be if Everton are found guilty of breaching financial rules. The reality of the situation is we will not know what the punishment is until Everton are A, found guilty, if Everton are A, found guilty, and then B, once a decision on that punishment is made. But we all know, and before I say this, I don't want people thinking I'm sticking up for the football club here, because this is another example as to why the people in charge of our football club are utterly, utterly, utterly disgraceful and nowhere near capable of doing the job that we need them to do, because Everton shouldn't be in a position where we're being referred over financial breaches. And in fact, if you'd have said 5 years ago or 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whenever it was that Farhad Moshiri joined the football club, that in 7 years' time Everton would be being referred over breaches to potential profit and sustainability rules in the Premier League, we would all be sitting here assuming that Everton had won league titles and won Champions Leagues and we'd spent a ridiculous amount of money, a little bit like Man City have done, and we were being referred for the same reasons Man City are being referred for, because we've bought shitloads of brilliant players, we've won everything, and other teams are getting a little bit aggy at that. You wouldn't have said 7 years ago, right, in 7 years' time, Everton are being referred for financial breaches, and they're in their second relegation battle on the bounce, and the season that is in question is one in which the club only spent £1.5 million in that summer transfer window, because they had no other leeway to spend any other money because of how badly run this football club has been. So this is, again, another reminder for me as to just how absolutely abhorrent the people at the top of this football club are at running this football club, and how bad they actually are, that we're even in a position where this is a situation. Now, Everton might be, Everton may not be guilty, Everton may be innocent in this, and this might just be a completely blown out of water situation, and Everton may well have complied in the right way, and nothing might come of this. But it is another reminder as to just how badly this football club has been run over the course of the last 7 years under Farhad Moshiri. But I also want to point out the Premier League's involvement in this. Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and talk too much about Manchester City, because I don't know an awful lot about the Manchester City situation, and it's not my place to sit here and talk on that. But Manchester City were referred over financial breaches, over whatever it was, 100 odd financial breaches, earlier on in this year. Now, Manchester City's is obviously, or seemingly, a lot more serious than Everton's, because they're being referred on a number of breaches that go back, something like 11 years, whereas Everton's is, at the moment, only being suggested that it's for one season. I just want to remind anybody from the Premier League that is watching, and I'm not saying, two wrongs make a right, and I'm not saying you can't punish us because you didn't punish them, but let's just remind ourselves that 6 football clubs tried to destroy football last summer, or the summer before last, whenever it was. They tried to run away, create their own little mini league to make all of the billions of quid and go and play Barcelona on a Thursday night in Abu Dhabi, and then play AC Milan on the next Friday in Saudi Arabia. And all as they got is a welcome back party and a slap on the wrist, and a fine that, let's be honest, most of them owners will wipe their arse with when having a shit. Now, I'm not saying that, Everton should be allowed to be, if we are guilty, then we should be punishment free because of that. But what I'm saying is, when people are talking about punishments and fines and, points deducted and relegations, etc., if Everton are to be found guilty, would it surprise me if Everton are deducted 20 points? No. Would it surprise me if Everton were instantly relegated? No, it wouldn't. Because Everton mean nothing to the Premier League. But it's another example as to just how bent and corrupt this league is. Because 6 teams tried to run away and create their own league, and they got welcomed back with open arms because the Premier League were terrified of losing the money that those clubs bring in. Having said that, this is very much, a bit of an open situation, and one that I can't really sit here and talk for an hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes on what this could mean to Everton, because this could mean as much as an unbelievably big points deduction and instant relegation if we're found guilty. And that's not me just saying that because I think the situation is massive. Everton could have literally broken one financial rule and spent £3.50 more than they should have, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Premier League give us a points deduction because they're absolute knobheads. Or this could mean nothing because Everton could be completely compliant, could have done absolutely nothing wrong, and could be, completely innocent and allowed to get away with this for well, not get away with it, but could be completely innocent and nothing come of it. We don't know. We're at that point where there's not enough information out there to sit here and make a thorough, and try and sit here and thoroughly discuss what could or what couldn't happen. Everton are very adamant, very, very adamant that they've done nothing wrong. Very, very adamant that they've complied with every rule. If you remember rightly, certain teams like Burnley and Leeds, who were in a relegation battle with Everton last season, actually complained to the Premier League about Everton spending and tried to force this on Everton towards the back end of last season. And it didn't work. The Premier League were happy with Everton's spending. The Premier League were happy with Everton's financial situation, and they were happy with the fact that Everton were within where they needed to be in terms of profit and sustainability. So if anything, really, if Everton are to be found guilty, this also bites the Premier League massively on the arse, doesn't it? Because the Premier League last season were presented with everything Everton needed to present them with, and they said, yeah, we're happy with that. Absolutely, mate. Nothing wrong, no issue. They're fine. So the look on the Premier League that this would have, if Everton are to be found guilty of whatever the charge is, it's not a good one. It's not a good one. But the reality is, we don't know much about it. And as the Blues says, a lot of people haven't got a clue. Basically, yes. And until this investigation is concluded, and until we have a conclusion, and until we have, a final report or statement on the Premier League's website or whatever it may be, that, this situation is being concluded, Everton have been found not guilty or Everton have been found guilty, then there's very little we can sit here and talk about. Of course, we can talk about the failings of the football club. We speak about them every single week. The people at the top of this football club are absolute jokers, absolute criminals, and they shouldn't be anywhere near this football club. And the fact that we're even in this situation just shows how badly they've ran this football club. And I'm not just talking about the fact that we're in a situation where we're getting referred, by the way, because we could be completely innocent in this. I'm talking about the fact that we were in a position in the first place that we could only spend 1.5 million quid last summer. But the reality is, we don't know what's going to happen. And we're not going to know what's going to happen for a long time, because I assume this issue won't get resolved for a long time, because they never do. These are things that go on for months and months and months and months. And anybody worried that it will affect this season and we'll get a points deduction before the end of this season, I'm pretty confident in saying that this situation will not be resolved before this season is over. So, if Everton are to get a points deduction, it will probably be into next season. So it's not going to have any impact on the relegation battle or on Everton's, whether or not Everton stay in the Premier League this year or not. It's very unlikely to have any impact on that. So there you go. There's not much else to discuss in regards to this. Basically This is the situation. We've read the statements. Everton seem really confident. Other Premier League clubs are unhappy because, of course, they are, because they'll want the absolute worst because it benefits them. But until this investigation is concluded and we've got an answer and we've got a solid, definitive conclusion, then there's not much else to say. It's happening. We'll have to see what the outcome is, and then once we know the outcome, we can start contemplating what the punishment will be. But as I said, this could be as massive as points deductions and relegations, or it could be absolutely nothing whatsoever. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, there you go. Just thought I'd do a little video. I wanted to bring it to people's attention. As I said, I apologise. This wasn't on Monday. This wasn't on Friday night, but I wasn't letting this ruin my weekend. I wasn't sitting here on Friday night and stressing my head off and, worrying and this, that and the other, because I'd planned all week that I was going to have an Everton free weekend. I was going to enjoy it. So, I thought that's exactly what I'm going to do. And we're here now on Monday. And yeah, this is the situation that we're in. We'll wait and see how this one progresses. There you go. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new as well. We'll be back with another live stream over the next couple of days. Look out for that one. Big thanks to everybody in the live comments. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below. Big thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you later.